Chào quý vị, chiều nay thứ sáu ngày 24 tháng 6 tháng 7, 24 tháng 7 năm 2026, chúng tôi rất hân hạnh được dịp đến quý vị một lần nữa trong chương trình Sức mạnh cộng đồng. Trong chương trình này là phần của chương trình có tính cách là trilingual, là ba ngôn ngữ khác nhau: người Việt, tiếng Việt, tiếng Anh và tiếng Tây Ban Nha hay là tiếng Latin. Thì hôm nay chúng ta thì cái người mà có tiếng Latin là cô Karen Martinez, là người đồng hành với chúng tôi trong suốt gần một năm qua. Thì cô có chuyện vấn đề cần phải lo, cho nên rằng cô không có mặt ở đây chúng ta được, cho nên chúng ta tạm không có cái tiếng Spanish với chúng ta bữa nay. Nhưng mà chúng ta sẽ có tiếng Anh và tiếng Việt, cho nên chúng ta will go from a trilingual program to the bilingual program today. Thưa quý vị, đặc biệt là chúng ta có một vị khách mà Sam nghĩ rằng là quý vị cũng đã từng thấy mặt trong các chương trình chúng ta trước đây, nhưng mà lần này chúng ta có dịp để mà chúng ta nói chuyện riêng về cái cơ sở của ông ta, về những cái hoạt động của ông ta trong đời sống ở tại San Jose này trong suốt vài thập niên qua. Và một trong những người mà biết nhiều nhất về lịch sử của San Jose trong khoảng chừng 5 thập niên qua, cũng giống như là thời gian mà người Việt của mình đến đây ở tại San Jose này và Hoa Kỳ. Và suốt những thời gian đó, qua những cái tiến triển của từng cộng đồng và làm việc với nhiều đa dân chủng, người Latin, người Việt, người Á Châu, người da đen, người da trắng. Vị này thưa quý vị, Sam được dịp để biết ông ta là trên 25 năm nay. Sam thấy ông là một người có sự kiến thức rất rộng rãi và hiểu biết rất nhiều và quen biết rất nhiều vị gọi là lãnh đạo ở tại Santa Clara County và tiểu bang. Cho nên là một đặc ân để tôi giới thiệu đến quý vị ông Dennis King, là CEO của Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, là phòng thương mại của người Mỹ Latin ở tại đây. Và ông ta làm vị giám đốc ở đó cũng nhiều năm. Nhưng mà cái đặc biệt của ông ta là ông ta rất là thân cận với lại nhiều người trong cộng đồng Việt Nam, nhiều người trong cộng đồng người da đen và nhiều người trong cộng đồng Hoa Kỳ, người Mỹ trắng, và dĩ nhiên chắc chắn là trong cộng đồng người Latin. Cho nên chúng ta có dịp để mà chúng ta hiểu được là về cái cơ quan mà ông ta làm việc xưa nay nó tiến triển như thế nào, và những cái điều gì ông ta chia sẻ nó sẽ giúp chúng ta có một cái nhìn mà được tốt đẹp hơn, hoặc là được hiểu biết nhiều hơn trong những cái sinh hoạt ở tại cộng đồng Mỹ Mễ Việt ở tại đây. Mr. Dennis King is the CEO of Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and as much as I have known about you for the past 20, 25 plus years, and you have been a very involved community activist, community leader in the Santa Clara County for the last, I would say, at least 5 decades, since the Vietnamese American community began here in San Jose as well as in the United States. I think that perspective is very good for us to have a conversation today, because this is a trilingual program. We will not be able to have our co-host, Trustee Karen Martinez, here with us today due to some personal needs. But we will have a conversation in both English and Vietnamese here, and hopefully it will be a wonderful exchange of thoughts today. And of course, with the council member Biên Đoàn with us, District 7, San Jose City, getting ready for his second term, and Mr. Hồng Cao, the director of Viet Museum, on a voluntary basis, former Santa Clara County engineer in the civil engineering department, and for almost 3 decades. So we are old and seasoned and experienced and been around the corner a few times, the block a few times.
You're being diplomatic as usual, Sam.
So wonderful. If Dennis, if you don't mind, share with us, please, how you began life in Santa Clara County, and how you get involved with Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And I understand that you were very involved in helping the Vietnamese Chamber, American Chamber of Commerce, so forth. And of course, I know you work very closely with our Black Chamber of Commerce, with folks like the president of the Black Chamber of Commerce, Carl Davis, when I knew you.
Yes, good
And
friend.
certainly
Good guy.
now he's the president of the state Black Chamber of Commerce, and also our other folks in the community. So please go ahead and share with us a little bit who is Dennis King, and how did you help this community so far?
Well, it's a continuing issue, a continuing involvement. So stop me if I get boring, please. Basically, my joy is helping people with their dreams, with their what you know. A long time ago, a theme for SBA, when they were Small Business Administration, when they were helping small businesses, they're basically saying that all big businesses at one point was a small business, implying that a small business is the acorn that grows the great oaks. And while that's true, that doesn't really speak to why most people are in business. My experience, most people, especially in this valley, who start their businesses, they don't expect to be billionaires. What they expect to do is be able to take care of their families, take care, and then as an extension of their families, to take care of their communities. So understanding those kinds of motivations, understanding that it's not this grandiose plan to take over the world or come up with the widget that makes everybody very wealthy. It's the idea of coming up with a process of creating value, giving something to the community, having the community recognize that value, and in turn, in that recognition, get the financial compensation so that they can take care of their families now and plan for the future. It sounds simple, but it's an ongoing challenge. So my experience kind of came from a roundabout way, in that my father was a small business owner, so I watched his struggles. From time to time, he gave up his small business to work for a big business, and then decided that wasn't for him. He liked more making a difference himself. And so I watched him go through his struggles. But I also see the small businesses in the community. The front door I did for this community was through college. I mean, I've been always interested in the community and certainly involved in little things like Boy Scouts and other activities. But it was in student government that I realized, wow, one person could make a difference. One person with a clear mission, with the ability to influence a circle of people, can embrace that idea, and collectively they can get to the next level. And frequently they can go beyond that. So my first experiences in leadership came from high school, when I was a yearbook editor. And that was the first time that I was essentially put people together with goals to meet deadlines and come up with a product. And that's been kind of with me ever since. And oddly enough, I keep finding myself making magazines along the way. Along the way then in college, I went to Foothill College, and I had the honor of being involved in student government there. Again, a student body president and a statewide officer, and involved in that. And along the way, I learned the language of power. I learned the language of group consensus building, of being able to understand how do you move a group forward. I'm probably talking too long if you need it.
No, perfect.
So a part of it, there's the image of, if you look at local government, you see that they too have a language. And in this country, most of it is based on something like what's called Robert's Rules of Order. There are variations. You at City Council have something that's very similar to Robert's Rules of Order. They don't call it that, but most of the rules are the same. There are some differences, and at some point you might want to look at them, because there's a few that you may want to change.
Yes.
But the whole idea is, how do we respect each other when we have different opinions? And especially, how do we have people with different ideologies that can still come together in one group with one mission to get something accomplished? So one of the challenges in our nation is the ability to teach democracy, to teach democratic decision making. We fight wars in the name of democracy, but we really don't teach it. And for that, I'm greatly sad. The closest that I see in our schools is student government, and that is somebody makes a motion, somebody agrees with them, others may not agree with them, and somehow they've got to get the opinions out of the various members and come up with some consensus, some understanding. They say, well, collectively, this is what we agree to do. The simple act of making a motion, the idea of making a motion is you're trying to influence a group to do something that they can agree to do, which is kind of in learning that informal chemistry and being able to share that with others, to say, this is the way we get things accomplished, with respect. We may view things differently, maybe even very strongly, but we can respect the fact that we have some things in common, like what's the process of resolving conflict. So conflict resolution was a major factor. I was saddened when we were going as a nation in a time of war, thinking that there's got to be some way that we can deal with conflict without having people kill each other. And it was that kind of motivation that got me involved in the community in so many different ways. So at Foothill College, I led an effort to change the Constitution of the United States, and we did. And that was a very eye-opening experience to deal with politics on that level, but still understand that local government is its genesis, is its start. You know,
And you're referring to the Amendment 25th,
26.
26.
Yes.
26, voting age from 21 to 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that was really based on students, but on young people, and them expressing the need that they wanted to be involved in the decision making, that they wanted to be a part of the system rather than being on the outside, rather than being excluded, or from the outside throwing rocks at the establishment, is to say, well, wait a minute, folks, we are the establishment, and to be more inclusive, to bring them into that process. And so that's those kinds of rather broad ideas is what was kind of the shape of my life, so that as we wrapped up that campaign, I was encouraged to go home and finish my education. So I went to San Jose State, got very involved with the Student Education Association, Student Teachers Association, thinking that I wanted to be a teacher. But somehow I got in student government again. And I brought the same idea of saying that when there's conflict, there's got to be solutions. And, you know, you can have conflict all by yourself. Do I go this way or do I go that way? Well, how do you decide? And then as there's two of you, you've got even more conflict because there's more issues on it. So if you understand that's the nature of who we are, that means calm down, whatever the issues are, let's take a look at them. Without screaming at each other, without thinking that we're evil, let's get it out on the table to say, well, is there room for agreement here? And if not, then let's agree to figure out how we could move ahead even when we disagree. So it's in that spirit that I then, after San Jose State, had the honor of working for now Senator Dan Corkadale when he was a county supervisor. So I got to see the local politics firsthand as there was a lot of changes taking place. And certainly watching the Vietnamese American community come in slowly at first, developing some strength, some momentum. I was absolutely fascinated and joyful at watching that experience because I thought, the future of America is being born in front of me, and it may sound naive, but I know enough about the history to say, okay, we call ourselves a nation of immigrants. Well, let's see it in practice. Here it is, all around us, not just abstractly, historically, but today. And so I was joyful to see that the Vietnamese Americans found a niche. They found their way. They basically took shops, for example, that were being neglected. Parts of San Jose that had been not used to the fullest. And so I saw them as individuals come up, but I saw them in different ways to connect with one another and build up each other. And I thought, that's it. That is the story of America. And in that, there are various tools that people can use that can either bring people together or push them apart. And traditionally, certainly in the last 150 years, business associations, trade associations are the way of saying, look, we may have differences, we may even be competitors, we're going after the same resources, so there's competition here, but there's some common understanding of how we do things, of how do we band together, even as competitors, to make life better for those that we serve and for the overall community. And on a local basis, there are city chambers of commerce that came to be. Many of them, like the San Jose Chamber, started out as a trade association. And then it broadened as more people got involved, as more diverse financial interests got involved. To me, as a student of history, I thought that was a fascinating experience to watch how do people who compete with each other, and yet they can sit down and have a meal together and still shake hands and agree to do things in common, even though fundamentally they're competing with each other. And I thought, there's hope. There's hope when people can do that. So in that spirit, when it came time for our senator to go to Sacramento, my intersection was to say, no, I think I'd rather stay here. My passion, as hard it may be to believe, was not politics. I wanted to start a small business. It was the small business community, because I saw in small business is the opportunity to not only be yourself, but to be the opportunity to kind of develop your own mission. And so I ended up becoming a publisher of a magazine, which kind of is a throwback to my high school yearbook days, but it gave me a chance to deal with the business community in a very different way. When you're asking small business people for money, for advertising, because you want to help them grow their business, it takes a while to understand that dynamic. And so as I did, and as I dealt with literally hundreds of businesses, I got a much greater appreciation of their challenges. And then the question is, okay, you've got some conflict with your local city or your county or the state and federal government, what do you do? And if you're trying to be helpful, you'd say, well, what are the resources that we can band together collectively, even as competitors? How do we as a community find that commonality, that leverage to say, hey, wait a minute, we need to be fair here. How can we be fair to our small business owners? And in turn, how can they continue to provide value to who they serve? And as I got into that dynamic, and as I talked to the businesses, I realized that's the mission of a Chamber of Commerce. Fundamentally, it's a gathering. It's a chance to bring people together. It's not based on an individual. It's based on this convening of people and convening of interest. And that process looks easy from the outside, but because you've got so much conflict, so much competition, it's a real challenge to find that common ground. That's what intrigued me about Chambers of Commerce. And so I found myself getting involved in the Chambers of Commerce. And in the early 90s, as I was a member of the San Jose Chamber, before that one of the programs that I liked, because in a sense I viewed dedicating my life to peace. And I thought, what vehicle do I have that's out there? City of San Jose is the third city in the world to have a sister city program. So it was my honor to be involved in that program. Tom McHenry in the mid-'80s initiated a relationship with Dublin, Ireland, which is my heritage. I had long wanted to do the travel, but always found life presented me with diversions. And so we never quite got around to it until that happened. And as I did, and then interacting with the Chamber of Commerce in Dublin, Ireland, and I see it's a small country, but it's got connections all over the world.
Yes, they do.
And I thought, wow. And at the time, Ireland was coming out of being the poorest country of Western Europe into now almost the opposite, in large part because of its strategic alliances with high-tech companies here and strategic alliances with people all over the world. And I thought, here we are in California, in the United States of America. Why aren't we also connected? I mean, we are through our people, but there's so many opportunities here. And so, to make a long story short, we ended up forming an international program based what we saw in Dublin, Ireland, and I had the honor to chair that for several years. And in that experience, what I saw from the San Jose Chamber was that they were that collective effort for leverage. But where's the Vietnamese American community? I didn't see them there. Where's the Latino community? They weren't there. Well, how about the Hispanic community? They weren't there. And yet, we've got blessed with such a diverse community. Why are we ignoring all of these other communities? That made no sense. So that's when we started systematically bringing people in. And I had the joyful experience of back then starting to work with the Black Chamber of Commerce, helping a few folks that you know very well get started with the Vietnamese American Chamber. I was honored to be a moderator at a number of their lunches. The Hispanic Chamber had me involved in some of their projects, especially their issues. And I thought, what a wonderful intersection of our community. Unfortunately, it was rather controversial at the time, and that there are people that are nervous dealing with people that are not of their culture. And as enthusiastic as I can be, and a number of people can be, to say, well, let's learn from each other. The food is different. That's wonderful. Let's try new tastes, some new experiences. But there are people who withdraw from that. They like things their way. They're kind of people that put mustard and ketchup on a piece of meat, and say, okay, that's fine. But do you know how many other sauces there are? And there's so many other ways that you could prepare it. And so I was blessed by dealing people in my inner circle of people who enjoyed learning from each other, enjoyed learning new experiences. And so that was the leverage of me getting involved in some of the other chambers. And so I was honored to be on the board of the Black Chamber of Commerce, the only non-African American. And my experience then with the Hispanic Chamber, which occurred years later, was I was dealing with some projects and again putting on some training programs. So I go back to my Robert's Rules of Order. And in learning that, I suggested that, okay, we've got conflict in these various organizations. And I'd say, well, here's one method that's been used by chambers of commerce and other even political organizations to say, okay, there are certain ways to move the group, like what is emotion and how do you make it and how do you change it? How do you support or challenge emotion in front of you? And how do you do that with respect, with everybody buying in to whatever the group decides at the end? And if you're willing to spend some time learning the language of power based on respect, marvelous things can happen. And so it was in that experience that I got involved with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and then for last 19 years I'm the state parliamentarian for the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So I've been honored to do that at their conventions, their conferences, and their board meetings. And I've offered to do the same thing with other various chambers. I've been serving on the board at the San Jose Chamber, I guess, longer than anybody right now. It's been about 16 years, but this is my last year. I see that there's evolution, but I also see under COVID, there's been a lot of loss, a loss of momentum of community building. And we're still dealing with that. We're still picking up the pieces. Last night, our Hispanic Chamber had a mixer. We had a full house, and I was joyful to see people I hadn't seen in a very long time. And so I'm saying, now's the time. Now is the time. Now is the time to start bringing people together again. I'd love that to happen with our city chambers, but I see gaps, and one of those gaps can be filled by if there was a strong Vietnamese American chamber. I think that would be very important. And there should be a good intersection, and then a good source of collaboration. And there's people that are talking about it who just haven't done it yet. So I think that's part of the discussion that I think that we need as a community to say, you know, who are we as a community? What are our issues? How do we collectively work together to address those? Anyway, I can, as you say,
Well, that's very nice, wonderful background there.
Your story is very long, very hard to to interpret whatever you said. But may I ask you some question?
Yes.
You
Sorry if I
said
talk too long.
Yeah, no, you said this year is your last year.
On the board of the San Jose Chamber of
Just,
Commerce.
and also,
San Jose Chamber of Commerce.
I know, but what makes you very happy or very proud about what you did for the Chamber of Commerce for the.
Well, for the
Well, before you answer that, let me just see if we can highlight some of the things that you just shared.
Sure.
Thưa quý vị thì ông Dennis King hiện giờ là một người giám đốc của Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, là phòng thương mại của người Latin, người Mễ ở đây căn bản là tại Santa Clara của mình. Khi mình nói tới Hispanic là we talking about Mexican American mostly here.
Okay.
Of course, the South American and Latin population too, the Latinx population, but the majority of that is Mexican American.
About 78%.
78%. And I myself, in the past 25 years, have grown to be very close to the Mexican American community. They are, to me, my brothers, my sisters.
There's a lot of us that think you are Mexican, but that's a different matter.
Yeah. In fact, I had a meeting with the Mexican American leader in the IPA office, the Independent Police Auditor office. I just met a few weeks ago, and she said that, Sam, I don't see anybody like you. You are everywhere with the Hispanic community, the African American community, the Vietnamese community, general community. I don't see anyone else like that, right? So I say, no, don't be surprised. A lot of us are like that. I think it's a natural. In a way, Bien Doan is like that too. In a way, and Hồng Cao is like that too. Ông Dennis King đó, thưa quý vị, thì ổng là giám đốc của Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, nhưng mà ổng kể lại với chúng ta là thế nào ổng đi đến cái điểm này. Thì ông ta nói rằng là ông đầu tiên đi học ở tại trường trung học ở đây thì ông ta tham gia vào ở trong cái chương trình mà làm những cái quyển yearbook đó, thưa quý vị. Là ổng trong cái trách nhiệm đó thì ổng bắt đầu ổng học là làm thế nào mình đem mọi người lại với nhau, mình đặt mục tiêu, mình đưa ra kế hoạch và mình thi hành sao cho nó đúng giờ, nó xong công việc của mình để mà có cái yearbook của high school. Thì nói tới yearbook thì every one of us can relate to that, right? And then khi mà ổng đi vào trường đại học đó, thì ổng học trường Foothill College Thì quý vị biết là ở đây nó có khoảng chừng 4-5 trường gần đây mà gọi là trường đại học cộng đồng 2 năm, thì là Foothill College, De College. Dĩ nhiên là hai cái trường mà gọi là tôi phải gọi là xuất sắc nhất ở đây phải là San Jose City College và Evergreen Valley College. Và chúng ta có Mission College and West Valley College. Those are the six major community colleges here. Thưa quý vị, tại sao là community college nó đặc biệt? Nó đặc biệt bởi vì là thưa quý vị, ở Việt Nam mình không có những cái trường như vậy, và đa số các quốc gia không có cái trường như vậy. Có nghĩa là một cái trường mà miễn sao mà mình từ 16 tuổi trở lên cho tới tự nhiên có 1-2 đứa mới tốt nghiệp năm trước là 12-13 tuổi, người Việt của mình. Nhưng mà đa số là cái trường đó hầu hết ai cũng có thể vào học được hết để mà lấy cái bằng đại học. Thưa quý vị, ở Việt Nam mà mình vô được đại học mình rất là may mắn và rất khó, chỉ có một vài % là vô được thôi. Tất cả đều vác súng đi lính, giặc hết, đánh giặc hết. Thành ra là bên Mỹ này nó mở cái trường đó ra để cho tất cả ai muốn học đều có chỗ lấy cái bằng đại học. Một cái cửa sổ để vào trong tương lai, phải không? Một cái chìa khóa để vào tương lai. Thì là cái trường Foothill College, ổng học ở đó thì ổng được sinh viên họ bầu lên để mà làm gọi là chủ tịch của hội sinh viên ở tại Foothill College. Rồi ông ta có dịp để làm việc với lại những người như là Senator McCorkadell, là ông cũng là board supervisor ở đây. Thì khi mà ông làm việc trong những cái lĩnh vực đó thì ông thấy rằng là ông học được cái mà gọi là cái language of power, là cái ngôn ngữ của quyền hành. Mình họp như thế nào, mình làm thế nào để mà mình đối phó với những cái conflict, những cái xung đột nó xảy ra, mỗi người một ý, 9 người 10 ý, thì làm thế nào là mình có thể ngồi lại với nhau để mà mình khác quan điểm với nhau nhưng mà mình đến một cái kết luận, một cái kết quả, một cái đường đi cho chung cho nhau. Thì những cái phương diện đó thì một trong những cái phương cách mà họ làm đó áp dụng theo là cái Robert's Rule of Order, là cái bộ luật mà được viết ra nhiều năm thập niên qua và đã áp dụng nhiều trong tất cả các cái sinh hoạt chính quyền ở tại Mỹ này, từ Neighborhood Association cho tới the Congress. Basically, they apply the Robert's Rules of Order in general, but particularly for non-profit organizations, right? Mostly for the public organizations. I don't know about private as much, whether Google's or Apple do that, but the Robert's Rule of Order là một cái hệ thống, một cái phương pháp mà dùng để mà giải quyết những vấn đề chung với nhau. Có nghĩa rằng là có người đề biểu một cái gì, đề xướng một cái ý định, rồi có người khác đồng ý và họ bàn với nhau, rồi họ quyết định chung với nhau và họ bầu phiếu theo cái hệ thống dân chủ là democracy. Đó là từ những cái đó. Và nhưng mà ông cũng có cái tinh thần gọi là muốn đem cộng đồng lại với nhau để mà giải quyết những vấn đề, cho nên đưa ông đến tới những cái giai đoạn mà ngày hôm nay ông là Hispanic Chamber of Commerce CEO, mà ông đồng thời khi mà ông là trước khi mà ông vào trong cái chức vụ này đó thì ông ở trong cái hội đồng quản trị của San Jose Chamber of Commerce. Thì trong đó ông thấy ủa sao không có người Việt, không có cái văn phòng thương mại người Việt, không có văn phòng thương mại người Mễ và người da đen vân vân. Thành ra ông mới bắt đầu ông mới đem những cái chương trình đó ra, và dĩ nhiên có người ta nghi ngờ là tại ông là người da trắng, là người Thổ Nhĩ Kỳ hả? Irish là
người Anh, người gốc Anh. Irish là Ái Nhĩ Lan.
Thì ông là người Ái Nhĩ Lan, thì ông là người da trắng. Thành ra khi mà ông nói tới vấn đề mà ông làm việc với lại cộng đồng người Mễ thì người ta đặt câu hỏi là ông này Mỹ trắng, ông không có một văn hóa giống mình, ngôn ngữ giống mình thì sao? Rồi da đen cũng nghĩ vậy. Nhưng mà khi mà họ thấy được cái tinh thần và cái cách làm việc của ổng và cái ý nguyện của ổng và cái sự gọi là sốt sắng của ổng đó, thì nó vượt qua khỏi cái ngôn ngữ và vấn đề văn hóa khi mà mình thấy con người thật của người ta, phải không? Thì là trong trường hợp này thì ngày hôm nay ông ta là gọi là CEO của Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So that brings us all the way to San Jose Chamber of Commerce. and then now you're the CEO of Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So the question mà anh Hồng Cao anh đưa ra đó là what's
I would like to ask you what makes you happy and what the greatest achievement you think you did for the Chamber of Commerce.
Dạ, những điều gì câu hỏi của anh là những điều gì làm cho ổng vui và những cái kết quả gì, thành quả gì mà ổng hãnh diện trong khi mà ổng phục vụ. Yeah.
Maybe too much and you cannot summarize what you did.
That would be a lot. So
Well, there's
so let's see if Biên Đoàn has any comment or question before you answer that.
Well, first of all, I think, at least from my perspective, how do you pull community come together because of your passion and your genuine want to bring people for a purpose? The purpose is to continue with the commonality, the collaboration, the partnership, not only of the Caucasian, but the African American, Hispanic, the Asian community, and so on, to make sure we all have a voice, because that's what democracy is about. And I'm grateful for someone like you who have led the way, and you continue to do so. And I look at you as a mentor of not only being a leader, but being someone who treat everyone with compassion, kind, and caring. And the thought process that brought us from where we way back then to where we are now, and unite the community to become a better community for all of us. And you tested by questioning and challenging the democracy. And by doing that, you actually change some of our democracy for a betterment, from voting from someone who is 21 years of age, now 18 years of age, to be able to include in that process. And I know along the way, you also fought for the women's rights to vote. And when we talk about the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce, when I came to office, I wanted to make sure that we created a business association, like Story Road Business Association and Triba Business Association. And hopefully from there we'll develop into a true Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce in order to be seated in the same table with representation and allow voice, because over 50% of the resident here in the city of San Jose are Asian American.
Yeah, 40% to be exact.
No, I think it's more like 50%.
It's probably a little more.
And then
yeah.
if you look at the 60,000 small businesses that exist in the city of San Jose, I would bet on the fact that over 50% are Asian American as well. And a lot of people don't realize that being a business owner, it's not about the money, it's about feeding your family, contribute back to the community. But a lot of people forget about the extreme dedication and the passion, the hard work that inside that business. Most business owner I know work minimum 12 hours to 16 hours a day. And they rinse and repeat that 7 days a week until for years before they can hire some type of management and gotten better. But that is extreme dedication to the family, to the community. And so I just want to say that, again, from my perspective, I'm grateful and thankful for people like yourself have led. Without the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, without the Hispanic community who have led, now it's allow us, because of your leadership, allow us to follow those footsteps. And step by step, we'll establish the Vietnamese American Chamber of Commerce, right here in the city of San Jose.
Well, when that happens, and as it happens, I'd love to be involved and certainly offer whatever guidance that I can, and they'll take it from there. Since the 90s, I know of 3 distinct efforts to do that, but we don't give up.
No, I at least I felt from my heart we can make it happen. It's the will of the people, and then the expertise from someone like yourself willing to step into that realm and help us to be successful.
So a good part of it would be for us understanding what a Chamber of Commerce is, and say that we're going to start an ABC Chamber of Commerce is easy to do. To make it so that it's self-sustaining,
Yes.
that it creates value on an ongoing basis, that's the challenge. And that's especially the challenge these days when traditional resources are increasingly difficult to do. When you're looking at the financial situation of the local cities, of the county, and of other places that might be there to provide some support along the way, they're essentially not there, not at the level that organizations can be self-sustaining. So then the question is, how else can they do it? And that's kind of an ongoing debate itself. It's interesting that you're talking about the demographics of the community. One of the projects that we had the honor to do was the City of San Jose's first small business rent relief program.
Yes.
And that was right when COVID first started. And there was some funding from the federal government that came to local cities. And San Jose had it, but you only had only a year in which to spend the money. So there was 2 different efforts to do a small business grant program that fizzled. And then almost at the end, we ended up doing a small business grant program for the city of Sunnyvale, which was new for us, but we learned how to do it. Then we did it in Cupertino, and then Milpitas, and so that kind of educated us about, well, how do you put a program like this together? How do you create an application process that is both transparent and fair? And how do you do this in such a way that you can reach out to the communities that most needed the help, walk them through the process, qualify them, and then present them or their landlords a check? And so we had the honor then of doing San Jose's program. We only had 3 months to do it. It was a $4.3 million project, and we scrambled. Every day of the week we scrambled, and we did. We got it completed. The end result was fascinating because at the end result, because we kept track, some 20% of the small business owners that got the grant from this program were self-identified as Hispanic. 20%. 54% were Vietnamese Americans.
Yes.
And that told us a lot about the community that is a little bit below the surface in terms of, you look at numbers and you say, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that's a whole different discussion. I came away very enthused about the entrepreneurial spirit that I saw again and again with the Vietnamese business owners. Having them coalesce with one another, that didn't happen. But then I see that in other areas in the community as well. But I think the potential is there. It's very significantly there. And I also had seen that as a generality, and I normally don't like generalities, the Vietnamese American community are much more entrepreneurial than almost any other demographic that's here. Certainly more entrepreneurial than the existing Anglo-white community, just in terms of the numbers that actually start their businesses and run their businesses. So it's been, and I think it's been true of the overall immigrant experience, is that they have to take care of their families. And when they're here, they only have so much time in which to be able to do that. So there's urgency that's involved. And so they bring skills and a passion and a dedication to work that exceeds their numbers. And so when whatever the population is, the percentage of immigrant-owned businesses is greater than the non-immigrant community.
Correct.
So we still haven't found a way as a community to match that level to kind of help it get to the next level collectively. There's pockets, but that's kind of a part of the challenge that we have in the community. So, Hung Lao, I didn't get a chance to answer your question directly. My best satisfaction is, yes, some of the programs that we did, the small business grant program, when we helped literally hundreds of businesses that looked like they're in the process of being evicted. So we know that hundreds of them at that moment, with the help of the city of San Jose, we were able to keep them in business. Now, how much of the impact was that in their families? We couldn't tell, but we did know hundreds got assistance and were able to continue a while longer. Now, how much longer that will be, that's a whole nother issue. But that was a sense of satisfaction to realize we made a difference. We not only had to qualify the small business owners, but we had to qualify the landlords as well. And we had to make sure that the small business owners were not getting abused, because a lot of landlords just wanted them out. So it was very interesting to kind of go through that experience. Another program that we did for the state of California was they came up with grant money, again federal money, and GoBiz out of the governor's office for the state of California wanted a program to reach those that had never been reached before. And what we found was that many of the businesses that went after the grants, who got the grants, they were prepared for it. They had the staff to do the work, the legwork to get it. But the small businesses, they didn't have that.
True.
And so it was much more, the grants much more disproportionately went to the larger businesses than the small business. And in the governor's office at the time, they're saying, well, who are we not reaching? And what they came to conclude was they weren't reaching the street vendors, the people that were selling the flowers or the food booths or the food trucks, but the people on the ground that were trying to survive, mostly immigrants, that were trying to get the resources together to provide the smallest of small businesses. So that went out through all the 58 counties of the state of California. We teamed up once again with the county of Santa Clara. We were very fortunate to team up with them. And we put together a program that went out there. We were supposed to give out about 750 grants. We ended up giving out 921 grants in person. My staff wrote, I signed, and we handed out in person to street vendors throughout Santa Clara County. Most of them were in the city of San Jose. But to have them come with tears, or to come back a day or two later with their competitors in hand, helping their competitors get grants, to see that kind of dynamic quality that exists here locally was heartwarming. And very touching when you can say, okay, well, this isn't forever, but this is for now. This is for the next step. And see what we can do to help you on the next one and on your journey along the way. And so that's, to see that process, to me, was fulfilling. And we did that not just for the micro enterprises, but those are the ones that really grabbed our heart. But we did it for lots of small businesses. We put the loan packages together to get loans of over $150 million. And the vast bulk of the people that we helped either couldn't get a banking relationship or were turned down by banks already. So we know that through that effort, those businesses were able to get to the next level that without our help, they would not be in business now. At least not in that business. Maybe another business, but they would not be in that business. And probably, again, the direct immediate benefit was to their families.
Thank you, Dennis. Unless I explain a little bit
Yes.
for the
Yeah,
audience.
so if you can just explain
Yeah.
and then maybe we can
Yeah.
save it for our next opportunity,
Yeah.
but we'll wrap it up.
Để đại khái đó, tôi xin vắn tắt lại những cái câu chuyện nãy giờ đó. Thứ nhất là nghị viên biên đoàn đó cũng có đề cao ông này, cũng khen thưởng ông này là một cái người đã có những cái tâm huyết, không những là đối với lại cái cộng đồng của cái người Hispanic, tức là người Mễ, mà không những đối với những cộng đồng khác, đặc biệt giống như là cộng đồng của người Á Châu của mình nữa. Giống như ông nói là ông cũng có giúp đỡ cho cái phòng thương mại của Việt Nam. Thì nghị viên đoàn có nói là ngay tại ở đây đó đã có tới khoảng 65.000 business, 60.000 cái business đó, mà có thể nói là trên 50% là của người Á Đông rồi. Thì cái đó đó là những cái sự giúp đỡ, đó là những sự rất là cần thiết, mà đây là cũng là do cái tâm tình, cái nhiệt huyết của ông đã hy sinh, ông đã có một cái passion mà ông làm những cái đó. Thì ông Dennis ông cũng có trả lời về cái câu hỏi của đặt ra đó, là những cái gì là những cái thành tựu, những cái gì mà ông vừa lòng, ông làm vui lòng nhất mà ông hãnh diện trong cái thời gian phục vụ ở trong cái vấn đề vào phòng thương mại đó. Thì ông có trả lời một cách là tôi giải thích ngắn tắt là vậy. Đối với là một số đó, hàng trăm những cái business nhỏ đó đã được nhận được những sự trợ giúp qua cái mà nó kêu SBA, tức là cái Small Business Administration đó, những cái tiền đó để họ có thể họ làm việc, họ có thể họ có những ngân khoản để họ tiếp xúc. Nhưng mà cái điều mà làm ông hãnh diện nhất và ông động lòng nhất là trong những cái chương trình của Cao Ti đó là đem được những cái tiền mà của trợ giúp đó đem tới cho những cái người mà không phải là những cái business lớn, mà những cái business nhỏ, những người buôn bán ở ngoài đường đó, mà để cho họ có thể họ từ những cái business này họ đi lên được một cái level khác, họ nhảy được, coi như là họ có thể cái cuộc sống họ thay đổi. Đó là cái điều mà làm ông rất là động lòng, và ông nghĩ là ông hãnh diện về những cái đóng góp của ông như vậy, tóm tắt như vậy.
Thank you.
Well, wonderful. I think it's time to wrap it up. So final quick comments.
Well, I think you brought a great point between the conflict resolution. Conflict is healthy. Without conflict, we will not find a lot of solution that would help many people. And through respect, courtesy, and kindness, where we can agree to disagree, or we talk about things, it's not about personal. It's about how do we develop a solution for all of us. So I think conflict is extremely productive and is viable for our community. But the key is it's not about your personal feeling. It's about the community as a whole, how we come together. And I thought that was a great point that you brought. And I would say hopefully our community here, especially in the Vietnamese community, continue to have conflict resolution and be respect of everyone, thought process, and then how we come together as one. Because in this world, it's a small world. We're all living in the same city, breathing the same air, drinking the same water, and in the end, we want to have a solution that help all of our small businesses, because small businesses create enormous amount of jobs right here in the city of San Jose. And I very supportive of our small businesses, making sure that our OED department, its Office of Economic Developments, are engaged with the community. We have grants, storefront grants. We have attorneys that help the small businesses to thrive and navigate the process to compliance, either permits or even ADA compliance. And specifically, I as you just mentioned earlier, a lot of these, unpermitted vendors, how do we get them into compliance where they can not only operate their business in one geographical area, but involved in many city opportunities, right? From FIFA to night market to whatever it is within the city, they can actually be more effective in selling their products. Thank you for that. That's my final words.
Okay, great.
Cũng cảm ơn quý vị là tại vì ngày hôm nay đó I would like to say thank you following your story. I learned a lot because something you never talk. Right now, I know your relationship between not only with your community and also the other community, and with your passion of contribute and helping the people. I think the community get a very good result. Thank you very much.
Your comment and then I'll close.
Well, I think you've heard enough from me. It's just to say, I thank God that I'm here. I thank the community for allowing me to be of service, and thank you for your friendship and your leadership. And as long as I have breath, I'd like to be able to keep on being a value to those that we serve.
And certainly that brings us to the common question of leadership and the style of leadership, and definitely people in our circle, and particularly in your situation, it's a servant leadership approach that we take to the community.
Yes.
We have a leadership role, a leadership responsibility, but we serve the community from the servant attitude, not a bossy attitude, right? So we are to serve and to protect and to support others so that we can all together grow and get stronger as a community, because once our neighbors are strong, we become strong. When our neighbors are safe, our home is safe. So when our neighbors' lives are better and stronger, it makes our life also better and stronger. So thank you very much for all you do. We'll have more conversation about the details as opportunities present down the road. But thank you very much, Mr. Dennis King, CEO of
Thank you.
Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and anh Hồng Cao, and also biên đoàn nghị viên của Hội đồng thành phố. Thank you very much, and God bless all of us.
Have a wonderful day. That's a good conversation.